Welcome to Work Mom Says.
Don't be an idiot.
And now, here's your host, Work Mom.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lori Joves. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Work Mom Says, Don't Be an Idiot. Quick reminder, I am here to help you learn to play the emotional contact sport of business so you can experience a whole lot less drama and a whole lot more success. And today I am so fortunate to have my guest, Trae Isaac. Trae is an artist and I don't even know how to explain who Trae is. I'm going to let him do that. But I met Trae on Facebook of all places. And then I just had to bring it into real life because I just have so much respect for him as an artist and for how he moves through the world. So I wanted to bring him in, share him with you, and he's going to have lots of great information to help you move forward and hit those goals that you have for yourself. So, Trae, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for the love, the appreciation, and everything, all the good energy, the good feedback, the good vibes. It's all genuine and I'm definitely grateful.
Wonderful. I like to mom people, so
Hey,
forgive me if I mom you. That's what I do. I just can't help myself.
it's all good. I'm accepting of it all. So yeah.
I know. I love it. I love it. So, Trae, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you I know you're an artist. You do all kinds of things from, art that you sell on your website, but you also do these huge murals. So let's talk about a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm an artist of various mediums. I would like to coin myself as, I guess, a lifestyle artist slash creative director, if you will, just based on all of the fields of art that I've been involved in since I began my journey in 2006. So it's really hard for me to find just one label for it, but I try to, just wrap it up, especially when I got to put it on my business cards, fine artist, creative director. So yeah.
All kinds of things. And I think I originally bought some products from you. I bought a pin that I'll show that I think is just absolutely amazing. Not sure if they can see that, but I may take a picture of it and put it in. It's like an angel wing. And it's just so detailed in this beautiful rose gold with all these colors. And that's the first piece I bought. And then I bought some really cool earrings that you made. And I know you have art on your website, but how did you get into the mural aspect of art?
For me to commit and want to get into the field of murals, I understood that my art had to be aesthetically pleasing and accepting to crowds outside of just my immediate circle. When you're tasked with making art for other people, in other communities, other corporations, and just larger scales and groups of representatives and whatnot, they have their own, sets of requirements and standards and things that they look for. People may say art is subjective, but that's true more so on a hobbyist scale as opposed to when you want to convert that into being a professional and doing it as a business. Then those
Mhm.
people that you're serving, they expect, like I said, a little bit more technical skill, things that are more aesthetically accurate to, what they may be expecting, as opposed to an artist's freestyle interpretation, which is how a lot of artists like to create, from their own soul, their own heart, and their own mind. Not to say that I
Mhm.
don't. However, through the work that I've been blessed to do through murals, I've adapted in a way that I understand my role as a creative tailor, if you will. So, like you would go to a
Mm.
tailor and get a suit made or get a garment made exactly for your measurements, for your lengths and widths and everything like that. I take my skills and expertise and create artwork that's tailor made and fit for different communities and organizations, to their standards, to the histories that they want to express, to the core
Mhm.
values that they may want to tell and share, to the community and diversity aspects that they may all want to include. So, me understanding that is put me in a position to appreciate the role a little bit more. Well, a lot
Mhm.
more actually, because of all the different people I've been able to encounter, all the things that I've been able to learn from just ways that people live, ways that people look at life. And when it comes to just the technical aspect of creating the art, I get to find different ways and methods executing certain tasks and different styles and mediums and whatnot. So I find myself being able to learn from every aspect of it, even though I may be as quote unquote successful as I am at it. It's always a different and new opportunity for me to learn something. And like I
Mhm.
said, for me to have to initially even get into it, I had to step my skills up. I had to make sure, like I
Right.
said, my art looked aesthetically pleasing and acceptable, like I said, to people who are not just my friends.
Got it. Now, how did you do that? How do you, as an artist, because I'm one of those people, and I always share a lot on this program, that being in a mindset of continuous learning and growth is what makes you successful. If you're 25 years old and you think, I'm totally fine, I know what I need to know, you're not going to go very far. But
Yeah.
those who are in continuous learning mindset. So how does that translate into art? Is it classes? Is it practice? I mean, how did you grow those skills?
Definitely practice, a lot of repetition. Like I said, put myself in my old boxing mind frame of learning what it is to consistently, quote unquote, train myself, to consistently practice, to know what to look for, to understand where the growth is occurring, and then making that process a feeling that I get my gratification from. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, cool. I challenge myself to grow, and then once the growth occurs, I'm like, okay, wow, I'm so fulfilled and pleased that I was able to do that. I want to do it
Nice.
again with something else.
Nice. I
So,
love that. I
just literally becoming like hooked and addicted, if you will, to that feeling of progress and that feeling of advancement and that feeling of, okay, wow, I'm actually getting a little bit better. Let me keep doing that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways that you and I are very much alike. I think that's part of what your appeal has always been to me is I can tell from watching you that you're in that mindset. You're always doing something new and different, trying new things, coming out with new products, things like that. Would you mind sharing your origin story a little bit about who you are and how you went from some things that were pretty seriously traumatic and to me, it looks like you kind of created your strength and your growth from that trauma. Um, what do you think?
Absolutely. Being born in a very tight knit family, it was just my grandparents and my mother at the time, and we were all in an apartment off of 7 Mile and Lasser back when they had apartments over there. and
I
um,
remember.
and coming up, my grandfather, previous to me being born, or prior to me being born, was a boxing coach. He had a amateur and professional background, and he also served as a cut man in the corner for professional fighters. The guy who was responsible for getting the swelling down, tending to any cuts that may occur during the
Mhm.
fight and everything like that. So prior to me even being born, that was his background. He was also a Vietnam War veteran and just a very well-rounded but still loving, stern, traditional, like just good man. And I
Yeah,
appreciate him for stepping up and pretty much seamlessly playing the role of my father in my father's absence and whatnot, and my grandmother always being there to serve as just the loving backbone of, like I said, that traditional feeling of keeping a house, making a home,
nice.
making sure I was always staying in school and making sure I was, into extracurricular classes. I went to this program at UD Mercy a long time back called DAPSEP, and I participated in more reading programs and forensic science type stuff to enhance and challenge my critical thinking skills when I was a kid and everything like that. So my grandma, she was always the driving force behind making sure I was out here educated. My
Love
grandfather
that.
made sure I was out here street smart, knew how to fight, knew how to, uh, be tactful in my thinking, taught me how to play chess at an early age. And my mom, bless her heart, she, always took care of me, made sure I was, just like my grandma, staying in school, doing my homework, keeping on top of things like that, because they just understood, me at the time, at least, being the only child, being, again, black in America, and
Mhm.
of course at the time being a little yellow scrawny kid. I had to learn how to take care. I had to learn how to take care of myself and tend to
I
myself
love
in
it.
more ways than one. So I had to make
Yeah.
sure the education was straight, then the street smarts too. So my tight unit made a damn good job, sure of, I had those skills going out into the world. So
Nice.
um, moving forward, I enjoyed an almost decade career of amateur boxing, being taught and coached by my grandfather.
Mhm.
Um, there were plenty of times where my life was wake up in the morning, go and do cardio, which was like either a half mile or a mile, go to school, go to the gym, leave the gym,
Nice.
go home, do homework, wash up, eat, go to sleep, rinse and repeat. And
Yep.
that was like my life for, like I said, almost a decade while I was simultaneously going to school. And at that time, a little further down the line, my grandparents and my mother, we all lived in the same four family flat. On the top floor, on one side, it was my grandparents, and on the other side, it was me and my mom. So
Love
I would
that.
run, just run back and forth or whatever. Whenever me
That's
and my mom would
fantastic.
bump heads, I'd run across the hall, knock on my grandparents' door. Whenever I get on their nerves, I go back home. So
That's
it was,
fantastic.
yeah, tight little family situation. We were never, like I said, real big on like family gatherings or whatnot, and that's mostly because a bulk of our family, at least from my mom and grandma's side, were Southern based.
Mhm.
I'm at least from my side of the family, like the first child or generation born outside of the South and York,
Okay.
Alabama. York, Alabama, to be specific. My grandfather, he married into the family, so he's more of the city guy than my mom and my grandmother. So,
Yeah.
um, having that nice, well-rounded background of people helping bringing me up, it was definitely beneficial. Um, I was 9 years old when I won my first amateur boxing championship. And
Nice.
also during that same day, my baby brother was born. So on May 23rd, 1999, like I said, I won my first championship and my baby brother was born. And unbeknownst to me, this was just my only sibling on my mom's side. Later on down the road in life, I was like 26 years old when I found out I'm one of 17 kids on my dad's side.
What? Oh,
All right.
wow.
So
That's
let me not
wild.
bounce around too much, okay?
No, it's
But
all good.
yeah. But once my
Uh,
brother was born, unfortunately, the doctors had told us he had, I forgot the exact percentage, but he had a chance of um having the same type of cancer that eventually uh had my mom pass, which was spinal
mm,
cerebellar ataxia type 7. And they said it was a pretty high percentage. I forgot exactly what, but by the time he was like 5 or 6, it kind of started to get to him. And
mm,
yeah, first he had passed in 2006. He was 7. I was 16 at the time. Attended Cass Tech High School, real big high school downtown Detroit.
mhm.
I was like the first class to like be a freshman in the old building before they tore it down, and then I was like one of the first classes to go into the new building once they opened that one up. That was
Huge influence in Metro Detroit with Tech. Absolutely.
definitely, that was one of the leading factors that after my brother passed, that kind of led to me finding art, because one, I was going to a school with 2,000 kids in it. Two, me and my family didn't necessarily have it like that for me to, have all the cool clothes or, new Jordans and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
in a school with a bunch of kids who, for the most part, their parents did. I was, kind of feeling not necessarily a little left out, but I was like, dang, I want to, have some nice, fly, fresh stuff too. But that led me to just paint on my own clothes. It wasn't necessarily like anything technically sound like my art looks like today. It wasn't anything that looks like this either, because this is just me cleaning off my brushes on my clothes.
That's you.
But I
That's you
was
as an
actually
artist.
trying to,
You
yeah, I was actually trying to like make certain patterns and styles and aesthetics or whatever. It wasn't,
Yeah,
like I said, as technically aesthetically wow and amazing like that, but I was doing something.
I
And
love that.
also during that time, my grandparents had got me into church as a spiritual outlet to kind of, help me get over the grieving process a little bit. And what I would do was take certain scriptures or phrases or sermons that would kind of inspire me personally, and I would like make an image of what I felt like it looked like on a shirt, or rewrite it,
Nice.
on the sleeve of a long sleeve T-shirt or something like that. And unfortunately, 2 years after my brother passed, my mom followed as well from the exact same cancer. And during that time, I was still into painting garments and whatever, still trying to, kind of like find my own way or find my own purpose, which I felt like at the time was, I thought I was going to be a fashion designer or whatever. So I
Hmm.
was like, still trying to focus and grind on that. And it was like a seamless transition from boxing to art, because when they had passed, it was just such a huge pause, sit down, reset moment for the whole family. Because, like I said, my granddad
Hmm.
was my coach, so he's feeling the effects and grieving in his own way. My grandmother, she's the rock of the home, the backbone,
Hmm.
trying to help keep us all together. She just lost her, from her perspective, her daughter and her youngest grandson. So we're
Yeah.
all going through it in our own way. And like I said, already being so tight knit and just close to ourselves, we really had to depend on each other. And,
Yeah.
grateful for the fact that, we were able to all handle and cope with that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
There wasn't
That's
anything,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there wasn't anything that none of us got into that necessarily caused a huge drawback. Like I said, they made sure I got into, a church, not necessarily for the
Hmm.
religious aspect, but like I said, just a good place with good energy. Because I mean,
Hmm.
when you go to church, especially from my perspective, a Black Baptist church, everybody's in there, pretty much happy, lively,
Yeah.
happy to see you, even though if they faking it. It's like,
Yeah. They're
you go in
it's
there,
welcoming and
yeah, a bunch of
loving, and
smiles and
yeah.
hugs. Like,
Yeah.
you can't go
Yep.
into a church for like 5, 10 minutes and not feel some type of warm feeling in your chest and want to
You got
smile.
it. Yep.
I definitely understand the method behind the madness for one, to get me involved. So yeah, got involved in the church, was in youth groups and things like that, and still trying to find my way as an artist. As far as something that was sustainable and something that would catch. Because even though I was making T-shirts, it's not like they was selling like crazy. I was just
Hmm.
mostly making them for myself, and
Right.
had a huge wardrobe of my own custom shirts.
I love it.
I would
Like, nobody's this is one of a kind. One of a
yeah,
kind. Yeah,
yeah.
going back just a teeny bit to the trauma that, I mean, the death of 2 family members had to be incredibly challenging for a 16-year-old. And the fact that you had community and then that family, I'm sure really, really helped you get through that and grieve in a way that was healthy. But you mentioned in some of the things that I see you post online about how the tenets of boxing got you through that, and also I'm sure got just helped you be who you are now. What about boxing is it that helps you just develop, the skills and the mindset that you have today?
Uh, the ability to lock in. I know you hear that term a lot. Just to lock in and focus, and kind of like just be able to cope and move on. Because literally in fighting, we fight for about 3 to 5 minutes at a time based on what sport it is, and we only have 60 seconds to recover. So, like,
Mhm.
within those 60 seconds, based on how the previous round went, it might be a cool minute rest, just get some water, take a deep breath, and get back to it. Or you may have had a tumultuous round where you got knocked down a little bit, probably, got your nose busted open. So that
Yeah.
minute, that 60 seconds, you need every point five of that 60
And you gotta
seconds. So
use that time.
yeah, yeah. So just things like that just help me to kind of like accept a little bit
Yeah,
more, and
yeah.
again, like, find solace in creativity, and just
Mhm.
to zone out in something that was fulfilling and gratifying, and
Nice.
also in a way that not necessarily as much as it does now, but make an impact on other people.
So tell me a little bit about how your art career started. I mean, you started painting on your own clothing to differentiate yourself and, not fall for the typical style, expensive crap that people like to buy when they're in high school, right? So, how did that turn into a career?
Whew, good question. There was a lot of stubborn passion, determination behind it. What I mean by stubborn passion, determination, slept on a few homies' floors and couches.
Been there.
Was very slow to want to get a 9 to 5 because I wanted to use my free time and energy as much as possible to try to make the art get off
Hmm.
as much as I wanted to and as I intended. Um, and like I said, it wasn't always the most lucrative, but I was living in what I felt was my purpose. And what kind of like finally made it click was me starting to enhance my technical skill enough to be able to do art for communities and for businesses and whatnot, applying for open calls to do murals and actually being accepted, and then not just being satisfied with that, but my thing is, okay, cool, once people send me a, hey, we want you to come do this, my thing is, okay, cool, now I have to execute. Now I have to perform. Now I have to provide. And once I, get to the part where I get to do those things and the final product is as advertised, as I like to say, then I celebrate. You got
Hmm.
some artists, they'll be like, oh, okay, I got the acceptance letter. I won. Like, I don't feel like the I won part until I finish the actual work, sign it, send them the picture. And be like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Or they come look at it like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is so amazing. So it's like, okay, like, that's when it comes
Yeah.
for me. So it's like extra pressure almost when I get the acceptance. It's like, oh shit. Oh, excuse me. I
Oh
didn't.
no, now I got to now I got to deliver. I
Yeah,
think a
my
lot
bad
of
for
us feel
the
that way.
yeah, yeah, my bad for the vulgarity, but
Oh
it's
no,
like
hey, it's
okay.
fine. We say whatever we want on the show.
Okay, I was trying to keep it
Whatever
clean.
we
So all
want.
right. But yeah, having to deliver, that's where the part where I take a lot of pride and self gratification there because of my process. My granddad taught me the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performances. And I take that
Ooh,
with me in everything that I do and everywhere that I go. And it's served me very well to the point where today I'm able to live a life where I get to keep the lights on and the fridge full based on how I create. So
love that. Absolutely love that. So can you tell me a little bit about some of your recent projects? Like what's your latest mural that you've been working on?
I have murals that I feel like are my most culturally resonating,
Mhm.
and I have my murals that were just like, oh, that was a challenge right there, and
All
like happy
right.
I did it. One that would describe both. The one that was like a challenge that I'm happy that it turned out well and I got it done. The one I did for the Godfrey Hotel.
Okay.
The logistics behind that, an entirely different story. um,
Okay, tell us
but
about it.
okay, so with the original open call, everything was provided as far as okay, the artist stipend, what the community vision is, and also in there is explained like what the city provides and what the artist has to provide, and nowhere in there did it mention like any specific apparatus that we had to utilize to access the wall. Okay, put that to the side. So
Okay.
upon me applying and reading all of that, I applied and went through the process of waiting because they got to vote and pick on who they want based on, it might be 100, a few hundred different artists or whatnot. And I finally get the email saying, hey, you were selected. I'm like, okay, cool. Selected. Yay. All right, let's go meet the people behind the scenes who I got to, do this artwork for and blah, blah, blah. They had a huge like press event for it because this was during a season where they had like multiple open calls released for like 20 murals that were about to be put
Wow.
up in Detroit. And mine was just one of them. And met everybody, still no specific details like, hey, by the way, you might need to be mindful of this. Okay. Nope, none of that. All right. Fast forward to the on-site meeting of
Uh-oh.
like me actually getting ready to meet the other construction workers on site because while I was working on the mural, the hotel was still getting built. So
Okay.
I had to like, meet the construction workers and the foremans and all of that just so, they can know who I was and what I was about to be doing and everything. And only then was it told to me that I would need this specific piece of apparatus called a swing stage. Now, if you're familiar with window cleaners and what they use to like hang and dangle off the buildings. They go level by level. Now you see some window cleaners like on
Right.
TV shows and movies where they're just on a rope and they kind of like just sitting on something with a bucket. Like no,
No, thank
what?
you.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Like it was like a bridge suspended from the top of the building, supported by metal cables, and me and another operator because remotes have to raise it up and down,
Got it.
and the remotes have to be pressed and used at the same time, or else it's just going to tilt and teeter. So
Jeez.
this specific piece of equipment costs more than the total stipend that they were originally offering me.
Oh my. So,
So
so
once, so
that expense was on you.
yeah, so they originally thought. But once I did my
No,
due diligence and research and compared prices, I'm like, no, I'm about to be in the hole about 3 grand.
no, thank you.
So I'm not about to do this. I had to kind of like, tag city representatives in it because after I got accepted, I kind of like just got handed off to the Godfrey people. Like, okay, now go work. So, and then during this time, I was like, oh shit, y'all want me to? No, let me get the city back involved. Like, hey, no, they
We got to talk. We
you know,
got to talk.
sometimes professionally you have to come up with ways to say you got me fucked up without saying that.
No truer statement was ever made. Oh my God, absolutely.
And that was like my first time in my creative career where I had to like find a creative way to tell her you got me fucked up.
Yeah,
If
and
you
I
expect me to pay
can't do
like
this.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, like so we came up to an agreement where I would just pay like a small percentage to put towards the equipment, and I would still be able to walk away with a very generous amount compared to what was originally agreed. And
Nice. Okay.
yeah, got over that hurdle, and then I was like, okay, cool. So actually getting onto the swing stage, the mural is on their sixth and seventh exterior floor. So I'm like 90, 100 feet in the
Wow.
air,
Oh man,
hanging from the
are you
stage.
afraid of heights?
I found out that week if I was or wasn't. Like, I
I
went to
am
see
big
the point
time.
a few times because back in high school or whatever, kids that have field trips to go to see the point. So I went on a couple of those field trips, but not necessarily afraid of heights. However, that was a very just unique experience. On the
Bet.
first day of painting, the swing stage operator was explaining to me because the mural is like 45 feet wide, and
Wow.
the swing stage has to match the same length. Now, the swing stage is supported by two metal cables, and we, the operators, we're supported by two separate ropes. So, just in case the stage were to fall or fail, we'll
Right.
be fine. So, he was explaining to me on the first day that, okay, in order for you to get like past this halfway mark and not stretch your rope too far, we have to like unhook and rehook in the middle. And I heard that. I was
Okay.
like, nah, bro, I'm straight. So for the first day, I only worked on like one half.
Okay, we're gonna start on this side and we're just gonna stay
Yeah.
connected.
Then the second day, I was like, okay, well, shit, I got to suck it up. How you do this unhook shit now? So it was like,
Ugh,
all right, figured it out. Took me about 3 business weeks because, again, I had to work on the construction worker schedule since I was on the active construction site just for safety
right.
purposes. I couldn't have access to weekends or any time past 5 p.m.
Oh,
And with the
great.
way that I usually like to work, especially being blessed to make my own hours and from my own boxing background, I've pretty much become comfortable with working 10 to 16 hour days. If I have a mural project, I like to knock it out. Like I
Yeah.
said, following the 5 P's, I always make sure I arrive with the, appropriate equipment, tools and everything, mindset, whatnot. So, I usually like to get to it 10 to 16 hours. But for that
Mhm.
particular project, I was only restricted to, the usual 8 hour work day, 5 days a week. But it took me, like I said, about 15 days, so 3 weeks. That was the mural that I feel like is one of my favorites just because I got it done. Everybody was pleased, but God, that was a hell of a process to get through just to do it. So
Oh my God. Well, and I
that,
kind of want to go back to the conversation that you said where you had to say, no, I can't accept these terms.
okay,
And you
yeah.
obviously did it in a way that they were like, okay, right? You didn't get mad and go, oh, I'm not doing this. You just went to them and said, hey, this doesn't work anymore. Let's renegotiate, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, the
How
term
were
that I used that specifically like I felt like hit the nail on the head was Due to your egregious oversight, we find ourselves.
Ooh, that's an egregious oversight for sure. Ooh, I like
Oh
that
yeah!
word.
Shout out to Stephen A. Smith, first take ESPN, using the word egregious all the time. I was like, I'm gonna have to take that word.
It's a good word. Yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
good
yeah.
word.
So
Yeah.
definitely came in handy at that time. It's like, you know what? Due to your egregious oversight, we find ourselves in this position. I forgot like the rest, but
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. I love it. I love it. So now tell me a little bit like so today, what does your career look like? You do murals, you do products, you kind of set up your own way of, your own career in your own way. And I have a lot of respect for that because I know so many people come out of high school or even college or trade school or whatever and they kind of don't really know where they fit and they don't know how to create a career that they will love that really like you say you have purpose in that career. um Personally, I'm in marketing and I'm not in marketing. It's so funny, I'm not in marketing to sell. I'm in marketing to create relationships, and I create relationships with people who want or desire or need the product that my client or I am selling. I
Mhm.
don't sell, and I spent 30 years in sales, but I've always looked at it as I make friends. I create connected, positive relationships with people who just happened to buy what I was selling. That's what I did. And so I felt like that. I do feel like that's I have purpose. But for somebody just coming out of, coming into young adulthood that doesn't know their purpose and maybe should create something on their own, do you have any advice you would give them?
Yeah, in my opinion, purpose and passion are very closely related.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like my purpose, very simply put, is to make things look good.
Mhm.
And
Love it.
I've had to adapt and pivot so many times from, okay, what am I making look good? Because at first I thought, oh, okay, I'm convinced that I'm here to make clothes look good. And then that
Okay.
didn't
All
really
right.
take off. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm convinced that I'm here to make canvas art look good. And then that didn't
Yeah.
necessarily take, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just here to make stuff look good. And then that just took off. That took
Oh,
off a little bit more. Like, okay, things, just my business cards, murals, of course, enamel pins, products. So, okay, let me just broaden out a little bit instead of
yeah.
trying to so narrowly focus. But like I said, I feel like passion and purpose equate because throughout my entire life, even through my boxing background, I've always had a creative bug. I was a huge Lego
Mhm.
kid. Like those like storage totes you would put clothes in.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had like two of those full of Legos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, shout out to my
I
mom
love
and
it.
grandparents for helping supply that addiction.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good piece of advice is what did you love to do as a child? Because I know me, I love to talk. I got in trouble all the time. I got a C in conduct. I get A's and then I get a C in conduct because I couldn't stop talking. Lori, stop talking. I can't. So, and my son was a big Lego kid. And what he did and big Matchbox kid. And what he did was he would always have races on his floor in his bedroom, but all the cars were still. We're like, "How is that a race?" But he'd make the big track, and then he'd move the
Oh
cars
yeah.
around. And when he did Legos, he did stop motion of Lego vehicles,
Oh
and
wow.
now he helps people, he's been on the on this show before. He actually, graduated during the pandemic and he graduated from University of Michigan. He thought he was going to go work for Stellantis and in a corporate job. My kid would not fit in a corporate job, I don't think anymore. He actually ended up taking a bridge job as a service advisor at a car dealership.
Oh
And
wow.
now it's 5 years in, he's doing great. He's 100% commission based, which I tell people, don't be afraid of that. If you're passionate, don't be afraid of commission. And he helps people with their cars. That's what he does for a living. And he's happy as a pig in mud. I mean, that's just his thing. He's like, so what were you passionate about as a child? I would encourage people to kind of look at that. What were you into? Were you really into reading or writing? So is writing in your career? Were you into sports and maybe sports or even sports medicine or something like that? You'll see a lot of people I know. We have a client at the agency that is Sandcastles Grief Support for Children. And what they do is support children who have experienced a death in the family or someone they love. And a lot of the kids that go through that program end up growing up and getting psych degrees. And some of them even come back and work for sandcastles
Oh,
because they learned so much and they loved to, the experience. So they ended up getting out of college and turning into, social workers or psychologists who actually help grieving people. So I really would encourage anyone who's not real sure, if you like to build things, consider trade career. There's a lot of need for people in the trades right now, and you get paid as you learn. So it's not like college. To me, college is we're in an evolution about college that do you really need it? I mean, Trey, you're self-taught, right?
hmm yep.
You're self-taught, but then one thing that I really want to bring up, because this is very exciting to me, is you decided that you needed to amp up your skills a little bit, or you wanted to, like, let's do something new and different with these skills. And you're learning how to do apps now through Apple.
Yes,
Tell us a
I
little bit about
just
that. How
got.
did you get into that? Because that, again, you're an artist, and it makes sense, right?
So yeah, one of the stops on my snowball effect type trajectory. Was this little situation where me and a few homies got together and created our pretty much our own art gallery space. At first,
Nice.
we rented out a loft near the Belle Isle area. We did that for about 2 years, where we showcased our own work, allow other artists to come showcase, and then I kind of like evolved into a hub where not only visual artists would come, but musicians, dancers, poets, and all of the like. Mostly pretty much all from Detroit. We got funding from angel investor, if you will, to pretty much move that same business model to a building around the corner from Henry Ford Hospital. There,
Hmm.
I met a good homie named Jimbo, who was a fellow artist and pretty much was coming up around us and just, creating and living and vibing and, just enjoying the environment that we had helped cultivate and create. Fast forward to today, Jimbo had graduated from the Apple Developer Academy cohort last year. And him and
Hmm.
I would always kind of keep in touch, just, say what up, though, gauge each other's progress and whatnot, because we've all still been creative in our own ways and on our own rights. He actually recently, a year and a half ago, inspired me to get into 3D modeling and design. But as it relates to what we're talking about now, he invited me to apply for the Apple Developer Academy because he
Hmm.
seen it as an opportunity for me to apply my creativity to a different field, a different medium, which is what he was able to find that he was able to do for himself the previous year.
Hmm.
I went through the application process, interviewed, and ended up getting accepted. And currently, I am about to enter my third week of the program, where we've actually just been tasked to develop our first app. So
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
about to
I love
actually
it.
learn how to code, design, and sell apps on the Apple App Store. So I'm very excited about that. One of the primary things about it is helping people and solving problems. And through my work with communities and companies having to curate and make all of these different types of murals and large scale artwork, I feel like that's kind of right up my alley because again, going back to the creative tailor analogy that I had gave, I felt
Hmm.
like I was, solving problems and coming up with solutions for them as well. Not necessarily, huge problems, but people want
Hmm.
diversity represented in their area. People want, more welcoming and calming spaces. So it's up to me to use my creativity and critical thinking to come up with an art piece that solves that problem. Now
Hmm.
it's just okay, up to me to use my creativity and critical thinking to use code and digital design and come up with an app. So
Hmm.
I'm very much so looking forward to that transition into that, process and into that realm. Like I said, so far it's definitely been exciting. We're working in teams because it's a team based pretty much situation because
Hmm.
all apps have to be developed by teams. You got
Right.
designers, you got coders. Me personally, of course, being an artist, people will be like, oh, okay, you want to design it. Well, yeah, but I want to learn the coding first because I feel like
Right.
that'll be the steepest learning curve. And again, applying just some of my boxing mentality and background, me and my granddad, we would always do the hard stuff first in the gym, or when we were, going through
Yeah.
our sessions, we would do the most tedious tasks as a means to simulate where in a fight, if you make it easy in the beginning, then it won't be hard at the end. Or, if you in shape to, grind and fight for 10 rounds and it's just a 3 round fight, then, you should get past that easy. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
just taking that mentality and making it work for myself as it comes to learning. So I'm looking forward to, like I said, learning the coding aspect and of course the fun part of being able to design.
Yeah. I have to say too, Trey, I think your marketing is brilliant because you have a marketing mind. I don't know if you know that, but you have a marketing mind because Trey this is so fun. Trey actually put up his first week of school outfits on Facebook,
Okay.
which is very marketing. It's like, "Ooh, going to school, everybody's going back to school, so am I."
I'm going to school
And that's
too. Yeah, that's definitely what I
exactly.
thought. Yeah.
It's marketing, and so you have a very natural marketing mindset. I think I gotta tell you that because if you don't know that already, it's there. So and
Well, I
I'm gonna
appreciate
pull
it. I'm just trust me. There's no method behind the madness. I'm just like, hey, is this gonna work now? Is that
yeah,
gonna work? Like, there's all
yeah,
these videos and tutorials of like how to make social media work for you, but it's like,
yeah.
okay, I don't feel like doing all that shit right
Yeah, but you do
now.
it your own way, which is like that's
Yeah.
exactly what you should do. But two things I want to pull out of what you just said. Community. That you as an artist didn't, as a young person, didn't just go out and try to be an artist all by yourself. You surrounded yourself with people who were in that space and you work together with that community to create something that would raise all of you. So I would tell somebody, a young person, if you're interested in a type of career or a potential career trajectory, find the organizations and meetups and places you can go to put yourself in the community there to see how you fit in and to see what kind of support you can get. Most career communities are pretty welcoming. Most people really, you want to be an artist, come on in. Let's see what how we can help you. And the other thing is not being afraid to learn new skills. To just say, I've never done this before, but I'm gonna jump in and see what happens. And that fearlessness is what will get you much further than somebody who's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do that. If you get in and you can't do it, okay, no harm, no foul. What would happen if you got in there and decided, I hate this? You just walk away from it and do something else. No, nothing ugly is going to happen to you if you try something new, in most cases anyway. I got to put a little caveat there because there could be, if you're trying jumping out of an airplane and you're not good at it, you might die. But if you're trying to be an artist or you're trying to be, you want to learn music or you want to learn how to write or you want to be like my son, you want to learn how to work with cars, don't be afraid to try new things. And I really love that about this conversation that you seem to have gone in a lot of different places and tried a lot of different things with a fearlessness that has gotten you where you are today. So I think that's a really wonderful place to wrap it up. So with those things in mind, Trey Isaac, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Where can people follow you and learn more about what you do?
Well, first off, my pleasure. Thanks again for having me. This was a very great, welcoming, and engaging conversation. We definitely could have went longer.
I know, I know. I'm gonna have to have you back on. Give me a year. We'll see what you've done then. Ooh, we'll
Oh
talk
yeah.
about your apps. We'll come back in a year and we'll talk about your apps.
Yeah, it's a 10-month program. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, that's we'll be spot on for that. But
Yeah.
people can find me on all forms of social media. Shout out to me being consistent. Trey Isaac. All right. Trey Isaac, everything. TraeIsaac on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube,
And you have a website
Reddit,
too where people
TikTok.
can purchase, right? You have a
Of
website
course. Yes,
and
yes.
that's treyisaac.com.
www.treyisaac. Yep, TreyIsaac.com. Spelled the same way, just with .com at the end.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Trey. And if you joined us today, please do me a favor. If you see this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And I'm an open networker on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you there if you have ideas on who we should bring on the show so that we can help you learn to play the emotional contact sport of business. It is an emotional contact sport, as we know. Just that situation where you had to go back and tell the people that hired you for that mural that had to be difficult. So you just buck up,
Yeah.
handle it, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely had to the little feeling in your neck, chest, like, oh, do I say this?
you got to say, okay, step aside. I got to move forward. And you just kind of thank you for sharing, right? So,
Yeah.
so thanks again for joining us. Please visit our website at workmomsays.com for blogs and all of our past episodes. And of course, you can listen on Spotify and all the other podcast platforms as well. So take care, and we'll see you again soon.
To Work Mom Says.
Don't be an idiot.
For more information, you can email Workmom at lori@workmomsays.com. That's Lori at workmomsays.com. And remember,
Don't be an idiot.